I asked her, I was like, could you be my girlfriend? So official. Cause I don't know, I'm a little old school. So the whole talking stage to me is just whack. It's still to this day, like it's just whack in my opinion. But anyway, yeah, I just feel like if we're talking, let's do it. So I made her my girlfriend. I didn't want to do it on February 14th. I felt like cliche, right? So I waited till midnight. And I think like 12:01 on February 15th. I was like, I asked. She said yes. So yay. Then yeah, I mean, from there, we started a relationship, and she went back, and it just grew. We got deeper and deeper, and I called my cousin. I'm like, yeah, it's official. My cousin literally said to me, DJ, what? Like, this is not your type. Like, I know you're a type. Like, you don't need to settle. Red flag. And I'm like, what do you mean settling, right? I'm like, why are you saying it like that? Like, she's like, because this is my best friend. I know her. Like, she's not your type. She's not the one for you. She's just me. Like but everything that she's telling me, I'm not seeing. I'm seeing a different side. I'm like, nah, this is the part I'm getting, and this is what I'm seeing. I don't really see what you're telling me about. Whatever. This is her best friend. Who am I to argue with what she's telling me, right? Like how what? Anywho, so I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Anywho, yeah. So we go on. I'm still dealing with like my technically homeless situation, but I was homeless by choice. I don't even want to say homeless because I was staying by friend's house, and you know, I'm gonna say homeless because I didn't have a home, but like I was on the streets. And then my wife at the time, my girlfriend, she was going through some situations with about getting evicted in her spot in Jersey. So I'm like, yo, we're both going through stuff. Why don't we just get together? You know what I'm saying? Like just get together. But before we got to that point, I did visit after she visited me. I visited her in her apartment in Jersey. Now, at that point, I was not supposed to meet her kids. And I told her I was not ready to meet her kids because I didn't know where this was going. And when I get to her spot, her kids are there. Red flag. And then she leaves me with her kids. Red flag. Now, I just want to say this, right? Before I continue. This is not a story or a testimony to make my wife look like the bad guy or talk down upon her or whatever. I'm really literally just facing facts because, like I said, I'm talking about my mistakes too. But I'm just really talking facts. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't want to make this about being her down. And that's honestly why I hesitated on talking about this because I didn't want it to come off that way. But at the end of the day, facts are facts, right? So anyway, and I told her that, and then when she left me with the kids, I felt uncomfortable because I'm just like anything could happen. Now, in that regards, like in just anything, like these are not my children, and I have some trauma on my end. Come to find out, she had the same trauma I experienced. So, because of the trauma I experienced, I would have never left my kids around. I don't care, like if I'm your best friend's cousin. At the end of the day, like you don't know me. You know what I'm saying? And I just felt like I don't know, like it just made me feel off. So I didn't like that. I did voice that opinion to her. I was like, I thought your kids weren't supposed to be here, and then you left me alone with them. Like you didn't think that was kind of too soon. And she's like, oh, I mean, I trust you. I just had to run to the store. It's not like I was gonna be gone for long. And I'm like, I get it, but I mean, I don't know. I just that's not something I would have did. Well, apparently that alone like made her, fond of me because she's like, not many men would have said that. They wouldn't have been concerned to that level. And I said, well, I've experienced things in my life, and I just would, I just hope you don't leave your kids around random people like that because like you just don't, I'm a good guy, but you don't know who's who in this world. You know what I'm saying? But anywho, that's another testimony for another day on I guess on my part. But um yeah, like I don't know, I just yeah. So anywho, I visit her, we go back and forth visiting each other, meeting friends, meeting family members, like really just really getting into it. And I just remember like my family just was not fine. Like they just weren't thrilled. They're like, they saw where it was going. I was head over heels for this girl, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yeah, I like her. Like they never see me act like this about any girl before. Like they're like, yeah, he really likes this girl. So anywho, and her family just seemed just really iffy too about me, but it was because of things I didn't know about in her past with her past relationship. So they just thought I'm just some next fling, right? So they didn't pay me no mind. So anywho, now we're gonna fast forward to we're back in each in each other's states, and we're doing this long distance thing. And it's hard. It's difficult. I'm not gonna lie. And we're both just struggling. And I'm like, you know what? Why struggle together? Let's just live together at this point. I've already been around your kids, and at this point, it is what it is. Like, we done visit each other so many times. We're spending money doing that. We've done met each other's family. We're going through it. We might as well just support each other. Like, I felt like at that time we were all we had. You know. And so she ended up moving down to Florida. We're staying with a family member. And we were just all supporting each other because at that time we were just all going through it. So we're all supporting each other, but things went left at one point, and then we ended up moving to Tampa to go live with another family member. Now, this is where family life really started. Like, we really started like living like husband and wife and kids. Like, we weren't that, but that's how we were living. And so, I was, co-parenting, stepdaddy, doing, just taking care of the fam. I was doing Uber, but it wasn't consistent because I could be making 500 one week, 700 next week. She was a daycare teacher. Definitely wasn't making anything doing that. And then she gets pregnant. Now, in between that, like I said, enough red flags. I'm talking about, like, not a lot to make me say, what the heck am I doing? But enough for me to be like, these are things that people can change. I felt like there were like a lot of moments where she started responding to me differently. And I would say like where she was gracefully spoken, and then it turned to like just being mad, like aggressive, you know? And yeah, I don't know. And I remember talking to her about that, like, like, why everything got to be an argument all of a sudden? Like, and it changed, it stopped. And then, you know, um, yeah, so anyway, she's pregnant now. And now I'm like, yeah, we can't stay in this situation. Like, we got to be in our own spot. So I called my father, and at the time, him and I didn't really have the best relationship, but, I called him for some advice, and he's like, oh, why would you do something like this? You're so young, da da da. And I'm like, that I ain't trying to hear all that. Like, I got to take care of my family now. It is what it is. It happened. And at that time, he wasn't fond of her at all. Like, he did not like her at all. And here's the thing. This is why it's important to have a good relationship with your kids. Now, granted, my father and I have fixed things, we've patched things. We are so good now, like very good. He's such a good dad. Back then, it wasn't like that. And so when he was talking to me, just like all his other kids, I thought I was going to be the next kid that you have issues with, right? Because with all his kids as they get older, he's the dad that he's just a typical West Indian father or Caribbean father, like, oh, you got to do this. You got to be a lawyer. You got to be a doctor. I want better for you. Like, I came to this country. I struggled. You, da 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 da. You had it better. You had opportunities. And why are you throwing away your life? And that person's not good for you. That person's not good for you. Just controlling. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to prove him wrong. Like, you don't know me. Like, who you to talk? You got mad baby mothers. Like, this, I'm getting mad disrespectful now, right? And so anyway, um, if he would have, one, said it differently, and two, if we had a different relation, I would have received everything what my father said differently. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's important to have a good relationship with your kids, because if he would have came at me differently and we had that relationship, my father was right about everything. Come to find out, 7 years later, he was right about everything when everything hit the fan, and I was just like, man, my dad warned me about you, bro, but I didn't listen to him because I wasn't in the space to listen to him. But it is what it is, neither here or there, right? Because at the end of the day, I didn't listen to the main father. So if I didn't listen to him, how was I going to listen to the earthly father, right?